Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
Alrighty guys, let's break this down, and I know it might seem scary at first. Ripple takes 3 losses. After watching this thing through, you guys are going to have a very good understanding of the significance of these losses and how it affects this case going forward. So just make sure you stick around for this whole thing, and you guys are going to be totally caught up to speed. So just today, out of James K. filing, court denies the Ripple defendant's motion to strike the Mets report, reopens discovery until May 13th to redepose Dr. Metz. SEC ordered to pay reasonable expenses regarding the filing of the motion and the redeposition of Metz. So what does this mean? Well, a while back, the SEC filed one of their expert reports late, and that was this Dr. Metz report. In this report, Dr. Metz went through the craziest obscure ways to try to link XRP's price movements to Ripple's announcements. Yes, I know. Us as the XRP community wish XRP moved on Ripple announcements because we'd probably be at a $200 XRP right now. But Dr. Metz wrote a report for the SEC saying that XRP never moves when Ripple makes an announcement. Now, the SEC actually filed this report late, so judging by normal court rules, the SEC shouldn't have been able to file this, and this is what Ripple was saying to the court. They're saying, look, this should be denied. Well, Ripple trying to deny it was actually denied by the court, so the SEC will get to file this supplemental Metz report. Now, I want to quickly walk you through what I think of this and then show you what the lawyers are saying, and it's good news on both fronts. First of all, I read through the Metz report, and let me tell you, as someone who understands cryptocurrencies at a very high level, understands engineering in general, I'm a biomedical mechanical engineer, I could not understand what this report was supposed to say. It was so obscure, so technical, there is no way the judge is going to be able to take any meaningful data from this Metz report. So whether the SEC gets to file this thing or not, I don't think it's going to persuade the judge one way or the other. At the end of the day, this dude was paid to say that the XRP price depends on Ripple's announcements. And he's a PhD mathematician. So of course he's going to produce some obscure data that kind of looks like what he's saying is correct. But the thing is he had to go through so many different lengths to try to actually make this data correlate, because we know it doesn't correlate, that it made it so confusing that I don't think the judge is actually going to take anything meaningful from this report. But if we take a look at what James K. Filan had to say about it, he says that the court criticizes the SEC, finding that the SEC has conducted itself improperly by serving an unauthorized supplemental report on the last day of discovery, but declines to strike the Metz supplemental report. So I think the judge is using this to bolster her claims when the SEC files another appeal. She's going to be like, look, I gave you extra time to present new evidence even though I shouldn't have. So the fact that you are still losing this case shows that you are just on the wrong side of the law. I don't think this is in any way a big loss for Ripple. The judge went out of her way to make it clear that the SEC is out of line with their behavior here, and also made it clear that they will be paying for any extra time that this adds on to the case having to do with Metz's deposition of the Ripple lawyers. So I don't think this is going to be a big deal at all. This is more of a procedural ruling and looks like the court throwing the SEC a bone, saying, look, you haven't won much, so here's an inconsequential win. We will hand you, but the important part is discovery is only being reopened for a very short amount of time, only until May 13th, and then will be reclosed, so this shouldn't have any significant impact on timelines. Alrighty guys, let's hit on the next win for the SEC. God, I hate saying that. So, out of James K. Filan, Judge Torres had granted the SEC's motion for extension of time to file his objection to Magistrate Judge Netburn's DPP ruling. The objection is due in 14 days after Magistrate Judge Netburn rules on the SEC's new privilege assertions. Okay, so what's going on here? So, after the DPP decision, where the court said for about the 1 millionth time, SEC, you have to hand over the emails from Bill Hinman to Ripple, the SEC is once again trying to object to it. This is in no doubt simply a delay tactic. The judge and the court are not going to change their minds on this ruling, no matter how much the SEC begs them to. The court has made it very clear. You are going to hand over those emails, and even if you keep on delaying, we are not going to change our minds. Now, the SEC is going to take their opportunity and keep on delaying. But this is nothing more than a delay tactic because none of this is going to change. The court has made it so clear already that a Ripple will get these emails one way or the other. So I don't really see this as much of a big deal. The SEC is simply asking for some more time to make up their next excuse on why they shouldn't have to hand them over, but we already know the outcome of this. It's just adding another 14 days. Yes, no one wants this thing delayed 14 more days, but this lawsuit has been going on for over a year and a half. So what's 14 days really gonna do if the SEC is just gonna get a smack down again at the end of it? Overall, that's my main thoughts on this. I don't think it's really any kind of game changer. It's important to point out that we've been saying on this channel now for a while that the SEC's only weapon is delays and time. They do not have any evidence on their side, so whenever they have the potential to delay this case further, they have to take it because it's the only weapon they can use against Ripple. That's pretty sad coming from the fact that they are the party that filed this case, but at the end of the day, that's where we are, and this is what the SEC is gonna do. Not much we can do about it. The important part is they will lose, and almost every lawyer I have seen talk about this has agreed to that point. Now guys, finally, I believe this last ruling was probably the biggest loss for Ripple in this case, and it says breaking. Judge Knepper denies Garlinghouse's motion to compel production of the Estabrook notes. The court states that the Estabrook notes are no different from the notes the courts previously found to be protected by the privilege. So what's going on here? Well, a while back, Brad Garlinghouse was in a meeting with Jay Clayton and some other SEC members, and in that meeting, Brad Garlinghouse claims that he came away with the impression that the SEC did not believe XRP was a security, and it was even mentioned that he was specifically told that. So he was trying to get the notes from this very meeting so that he could bring it to the court and say, look, the SEC specifically told me XRP is not a security, so how are they going to come back a couple years later and say, look, now we do think XRP is a security? Now, Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple were denied these notes by the court, but there's something very important we need to be paying attention to, and why, although this seems bad on the surface, it's actually not as bad as you might think. Well, who better to break this down than Jeremy Hogan? He says, I expected the SEC to win this motion and agree with the judge insofar as she reviewed the notes and applied the DPP factors. Also, I tweeted back in February, I don't care too much. Garlinghouse was on the call and he can testify about what was said, uncontroverted. And what does uncontroverted mean? Well, thank God for Jeremy Hogan, because I didn't know what it meant either. He said the idea of uncontroverted evidence is very, very powerful in law. It's evidence that must be believed by the court. So unless the SEC comes up with evidence to the contrary, whatever Brad Garlinghouse says about that conversation is what took place. No questions asked. So this is huge, because what Jeremy Hogan is telling us here is that even though Ripple and Brad Garlinghouse are not going to get the notes from this meeting, it really doesn't matter. And that's because Brad Garlinghouse can always testify to what was said at this meeting. And during his testimony, essentially, unless the SEC can prove otherwise, anything he says goes. So the SEC really isn't going to be able to hide anything with this ruling. Ultimately, it kind of just delays the evidence from coming out. It would have been awesome if Ripple got these documents, because it would have put them on all-out offense against the SEC, and the SEC would have really been in bad shape. But at the end of the day, these facts will come out, and there is no doubt they are in favor of Ripple. So while it's not the best ruling in the world, Jeremy Hogan breaks this down in such an important way, because we now know that either way, this evidence can still get used by Ripple, even if it's not going to go directly in their hands right now. But maybe even more importantly, the court has already now seen this evidence, so the SEC is still going to be terrified to go to summary judgment, knowing that the court has now seen this damning evidence against them. in my opinion, this just goes a step further to drive both parties to a settlement. And when are we gonna really know what's going on behind the scenes? How serious is the SEC about actually taking this thing longer? Or are they bluffing right now, and are they ready to settle? Based on what I'm seeing, it looks like we are going to know Friday. Based on what the SEC says about summary judgment, the general consensus is the sooner the SEC moves up summary judgment and how willing they are to not delay summary judgment later on is really going to tell us how much the SEC actually wants to continue this case or how much they want this thing to be over with ASAP. This Friday is going to be a very important day to watch, and I know it is because Jeremy Hogan said it himself. Not yet, but we'll have some clarity on that this Friday. Very excited for that.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below, and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.